for you. So I want you to insert an X matrix, which is just X and Y. And here's really what we're doing. I want you to write AX equals B. And I'm going to kind of pull the appropriate matrices down in the right spot. So A, I'm going to bring down the 2, 3, negative 1, 2. The X is the X, Y, equals the B is the 5 and the 4. So we know A, we know matrix A, we know matrix B. We're essentially trying to figure out what matrix X would have to be. In other words, what's the X coordinate and what's the Y coordinate that would make this true. Now see why this works. Go back to your multiplication of matrices. We go across the top row and down the column. So that's 2x minus 1y equals 5. That's the top equation. And then you've gone across the top row and you've gone down all your columns, so you move on to the next row. 3x plus 2y equals 4, and that's your second one. Okay? So you don't solve for x here the same way you would solve a linear equation. You don't divide both sides by a, right? You can't divide this matrix by this matrix. First of all, that operation's not doable, right? So what we do in a case like this is what you do to solve this is you would multiply both sides by the inverse matrix. Now here's the funny thing about multiplying both sides by the inverse. Do you notice how I put on the left hand side, I think you would do this anyway, I put my A inverse to the left of A? I have to do that in the proper order on the right hand side as well. That's why I squeezed in my A inverse to the left of B. Because A inverse times B would not be the same thing as B times A inverse. So you have to make sure you have that in the right order. In fact, I don't even think B times A inverse, oh yeah, it would be doable, but it wouldn't be the same answer. So you put it on the left of both sides. And what does A inverse times A equal? When you multiply an inverse by itself, what do you get? A times A inverse gives you the identity matrix, which for all intents and purposes should just be 1 times x, right? And so x will be all by itself because A inverse times A is just the identity, kind of like 1 times x is just x. And then whatever A inverse B is, that will be your answer. Okay? Now, to do this by hand, you would have to, first of all, write your own inverse. Which, remember, 2 by 2 inverse writing is easier because we have that shortcut, right? That's 1 over the determinant. Do you remember that? 1 over the determinant. The determinant is 2 times 2, which is 4, minus the negative 3, which would be 7. 4 minus negative 3 is 7. And then we flip-flop these two. So 2 and 2 actually flip will still be 2 and 2. And we negate the other two, 1 and 3. And so then when you distribute, you'd get 2 sevenths, 3 sevenths, 1 sevenths, 2 sevenths. That's your inverse matrix.
Wait, how did you get 7? Yeah.
Did I not negate it? Sorry, you're right.
But it's 2 times 2, and then what do you do how do you get 7?
You do the determinant of a 2 by 2 is 2 times 2 minus the other cross product. So minus negative 3.
Okay.
And it goes 1 over the determinant out in front. So this is kind of a review. What's that? Finding the determinant we did the other day of a 2 by 2, but we only spent 1 day on it because that was very easy for you guys. And then we practiced finding the inverse the row operations way, which was messier and uglier, and we probably would never do the row operations way for a 2x2 unless we were forced to, like unless the instructions said to. The reason we do the row operations way is for the 3x3 cases, which don't have this fancy rule, and a 4x4 case that doesn't have this fancy rule. They have their own fancy rules, but they're way too complex, and you definitely would not want to have to memorize those. So that is the inverse. If I really wanted the answer by hand, I would just then take that inverse and multiply it by my B matrix, which is the 5 and the 4, and whatever answer I get, that's my X and my Y. Okay? However, we're not going to be doing this by hand. What?
Wait, so it's 2 times 2 minus
3 times
1?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What'd you say? Did you just erase all that? Why'd you erase it? Well, this we're not. Well, the solving we're going to do by hand. So here's how you use, and the steps are there written out for you, but just stay with me for a second. You want to insert on your calculator matrix A. So there's a matrix button above your X inverse button. Left column underneath math, do you see it says in blue matrix? Hit second matrix, and you want to move over to edit. Shoot, I'm going to use the calculator. I already did this once, so it's already plugged in. So second matrix, go over to edit, and we're going to edit matrix A. First of all, we got to say its dimensions, which this is 2 rows by 2 columns, so 2 by 2. Hit enter, and then it will come up, and then you just kind of plug it in as you see it. 2, -1, 3, and 2. And then we're good with that. Matrix A is set. Go to your matrix button again and go and edit a matrix B. Oh dear Lord. Matrix B, edit. It is a 2 rows by 1 column, yes? 2 by 1. And plug in your 5 and 4. Now, go back to your home screen once those are in. And you have to remember what we did from here to here, really, to remember what to do. You have to remember that we were given this equation, A times X, A times something equals B. And to solve that, to get A all by itself, you do A inverse on both sides. So all we have to do to get our answer is type in A inverse B. So to call on the matrix A, you just hit your matrix button, and now we don't need to go over to edit anymore because they're already plugged in. So we call on matrix A, just hit enter, it'll bring it to your home screen. We actually want A inverse though, so see that X to the negative first button? Hit that. Yes, Ellie?
I just can't get out of this.
You gotta say that.
Second quit.
Yeah.
Where's quit?
Is it right there? Okay, I'll slow down. Pepper me with questions.
How do you get that A inverse?
So go to matrix again. Did you already type in your B? Okay, no, just select A right from that menu. Hold on. Here's what we'll do. When people's don't turn out right, I'm going to collect your calculators and I'll look at why and we can learn from that. Question, Mike.
Mine's 2 over -1.
The 2 by 1. So you're at second matrix. You're editing still? Okay, so you have to get out, once you've edited, guys, to get out of that, you have to just hit second quit to get back to your home screen. Okay? Now, okay, so I'll start from here. Are everybody's matrices in the calculator? Anybody not have their matrices in the calculator? So we just edited them. To pull them up, we're going to go to the same matrix menu. We're just not going to scroll over to edit anymore. A and B are already plugged in. So we're just going to grab matrix A, and remember, from this way of solving, it's not A, it's the inverse of A, so we need to use that X -1 button in the left column. And when you hit that, I'm not speaking properly. It's going to raise it to the negative first power, even though it's on the power. It's the inverse. We good? -1, it's right. It's the same matrix button, it's just, okay? What's that? You know, I don't know if that will work because the caret technically does treat it as an exponent. So, yeah, try it. Yeah, this is going to look the same. Yeah, try it. I'm curious. Oh, thank you. And then we also have to insert matrix B. So now hit matrix again. Oops. Of course I did. Hit matrix again and grab your B. Are we go with that? And hit enter, and there's your answer. X is 2, Y is -1. It did work. Okay.
Can you do this for like I got matrices and
Here's where you're going to do this. When I ask you to solve a system that's 5 equations, 5 variables, calculator.
But like, can you use it for all matrices?
You can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
You can. You can. Look.
Wait, but like,
Okay, bring it up. So we're going to troubleshoot. Anybody who did not get 2 and -1, that's your B matrix. So that's your X is 2, Y is -1. I'm sorry, that's your X matrix. Right? Anybody who did not get that, we're going to look. I legitimately thought you were on the phone, and I was like, what is she doing? Then she's got, you look like my 1-year-old. He picks up the calculator, and he's like, hello. All right. No, this is wrong, and we're going to try to figure out why. So the first thing I would check on hers is, did she type in the right matrices? So I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to check her A. She has 2, -1, 0, 2. There you go.
Okay.
So you want to be very careful. Here's the other way. If Faith is on a test and she doesn't know that she made a mistake, you should, and because it's easy to hit a wrong button with technology, just check your answer in the original. Plug in what you think X is and what you think Y is to the first equation and the second equation, and one of them or both of them aren't going to work, and you'll be like, oh, I must have typed something in wrong. Does that make sense? I think we just might have a different software thing. So, were you able to do this part?
No. I don't know how to get the A.
You've got the A. So, second matrix, grab your A, do the -1 button, so it's A inverse, and then you want to multiply it by B, so you do second matrix, and go grab your B, A inverse B, enter, there's your answer.
So that was my, okay, so when I want the A
Inverse.
parentheses, I just press enter.
You just go to your matrix and
Yeah,
find
yeah.
it. So when we were editing, we'd scroll over and edit. Wait, if you just want to grab what you've already plugged in, you just grab it.
Okay.
Okay? Anybody else?
oh, I did a 1 by 2. But like,
So-
it's really just like the inverse.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So take today's homework quiz, for example. If my instructions say to solve using this thing, that's what I'm testing. Do you know how to use this thing? Right. But I'm not going to make you do this with something absurdly long, right? Someone obviously had to understand and know matrices at some point to then be able to use it to program it into a calculator and all of that nonsense. So we're going to say, thank you very much. We will use this for a 5x5, but it's not really helpful in math to just use what other people and not really understand anything. Okay? I know you're not. Ellie, my goal is to make you the next computer programmer, okay? I'm not trying to train you to be a machine to use the calculator. I'm trying to inspire you to be the next computer programmer. Okay, how about this? On your own, do you think you're ready to try this one?
Oh, yeah. I'm ready.
oh yeah.
All right, I'll do this one with you, then you can do the last one on your own. So, matrix A is going to be, now we have 3 variables, 1x, 1y, 0 z's. -1x, 3y, 4 z's. 0 x's, 4 y's, 3 z's. Your X matrix is X, Y, Z. Follow? And your B matrix is 3, -3. Now I will tell you this, so you don't forget what to type in on your calculator, you really need to understand that what you are doing is trying to solve this equation. Matrix A times matrix X equals B. To undo the A, you take the A inverse on both sides, both of which have to be on the left. And then you can do X equals A inverse B. So edit those in, the A and the B anyway, and then calculate A inverse B, and you should be looking at your answer. Go. So you tell me if that's right. Plug those X, Y, and Z values into the original 3 equations and see if they work. I would assume so, but you just never know. Did it work?
So will it be 1 plus 2 plus -2?
Well, for the first one, it would just be X plus Y, so 1 plus 2 equals 3. That's a check.
So you don't have to.
On the second one, you'd have to do negative X, which would be -1, plus 3 times this number, which would be 6, plus 4 times that number, which would be -8, and see if that equals -3.
I thought you had to put in like the Z too.
No, because there's 0 of them. So 0 times that would still be 0. I'm coming. Oh, God. Think so. Looks good to me. What was yours, Rob?
1, 2, -2.
1, 2, -2 should be what you get. If you don't, speak up. Maybe for X, Y, and Z. Did you do this one? Did you get that? Where did you write down what you got? Oh, did you already do the third one? Shoot, sorry. If you want, once you get 1, 2, -2 for X, Y, and Z, move on from scratch and try C. If you don't get 1, 2, -2, you need help, grab it. You're good. And once you get C right, I'll give you your homework and you can just start. This says that.
don't even understand like the water bottle flips we've had like
I've been trying to do
friend's house.
I've
I've done it. I've flipped chapstick. I've flipped chapstick.
We used to do it when we were younger.
Look at
Guys,
this.
oh my god.
No, I'm not trying to get you off track.
We used to spend countless nights just staying until 1 in the morning. It was about it.
Oh, I really want to just fit this right now.
Well, no, it gets hard when you're trying to cat. That's a whole different.
It's still difficult.
Hey, what's the math number tonight?
He's trying to do it.
You are doing all the odds. Do the odds. And I said already at the top, in case you were out of the room. Yep. In case you were out of the room,